Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the transit South Node Sextile or Trine one's natal Saturn. This transit could manifest in what you're going away from, your past, what you're naturally proficient in, what could be affecting you to your detriment, being in harmony with your career, laborious work, and responsibilities. Now, I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. This is not about, what you're, what's affecting you to your detriment is in harmony or compatible with your career. It's about a time when, you can get away from something that may be affecting you to your detriment so you can focus on your career at this time. It could be, if you have your natal Saturn, in Aquarius, career could be connected with electronics, astronomy, computers, innovation, aviation, meteorology as some examples. And it's also people that are prominent in your past may play an integral role in your career if you're trying to say, let's say you're at a job where it's been monotonous and you've been there for some time and you want to move forward. And this is a time that would be more of an opportune time in order to do so. And this is also a time as well when this transit takes place, really what you might feel, natural ability for at this time. You may be able, to incorporate, in hard work, hard labor at this time. If the transit South Node is in Gemini, say, it could be something connected with manual dexterity, or multitasking, expressing good communication skills, being able to articulate things. And some of you may wonder, well, how is this transit differ from the conjunction transit? Well, the conjunction transit and the sextile and trine are comparable, but they're not exactly precisely the same. Now, the sextile and trine is auspicious, it's more flowing. When you have the conjunction aspect, the conjunction is more intensifying and integrating and amalgamating. It's strong concentration of the energies, and conjunctions can have good and bad qualities in them. And the conjunction can be very intense. When you have, like, say, the transit of the South Node making a conjunction to your natal Saturn, this could be about, you could be focusing, it could be so much on getting away from a certain career that you may not, you might be oblivious to pretty much everything else going on. It might be to the exclusion of everything else. Or it can be, where another example could be where you may be incorporating, something where you feel, natural ability for, into what you're doing as far as laborious work goes, responsibilities in the career, where you can be, again, it can be to the exclusion of other things. And keep in mind, when you have this transit, that the transit of the South Node doesn't supplant or replace your natal placement. The natal placement is a constant, and that's with you to stay during your entire life, even though you're supposed to be emphasizing and accentuating the North Node in that second half of life. The South Node transit can be used, you may be using a little bit of this energy during the time of the transit, though. And the thing about this as well, it's also a time, if you need, to get away from something, again, leaving behind something, the father, older people, authority figures, those people may be beneficial in you doing so. Now, if you have anything, anatomically connected with Saturn going on, such as something with the bones, the knees, the joints, the hamstrings, gallbladder, or even if there's some chronic illness that you're dealing with at this time. Now, this is more of an opportunity to deal with it, because keep in mind that when you have this transit of the South Node making a sextile or trine to your natal Saturn, well, naturally the transit of the North Node is going to make a sextile or trine to your natal Saturn. When you have the transit of the North Node, making the harmonious aspect to your natal Saturn, well, that could manifest in being able, if you have to address or confront something, it's easier to do so. And if it's something Saturn related, anatomically connected with Saturn, it can be more of an opportunity to be able to deal with it. The natal, and again, Saturn is also, it's connected with chronic illnesses. If you have your natal Saturn, Scorpio, say as an example, it could be something chronic connected with the colon, the prostate, the bladder, the urinary tract, or reproductive system, as some examples. And when the transit South Node is making that sextile or trine to the natal Saturn, it can be about, if something, it's easier to get away from something in order to focus on something Saturn related, that's something anatomically connected with Saturn that you may be going through, if that is the case. Now it's also, that could also apply to fears as well, because Saturn is about your fears. I have Saturn in Taurus in the 12th. Have Saturn in the 12th by itself can simply have a fear of the unknown. I mean, it can be about just doing something, going somewhere or doing something maybe different, can maybe puts me in some state of trepidation. And the Saturn, and this is about dealing with your your limitations as well. If you're trying to getting away from something that may be affecting you adversely, may also be beneficial in terms of you dealing with limitations. And there's my Saturn, Taurus, it could be something limiting, some kind of self-worth or monetary situation, or ability, for persistence in some cases. At least I have a Taurus ascendant, so that kind of modifies that a little bit, I would say, more than just a little bit. But anyway, it's a time as well, when you have this transit, it could be something, where people prominent, in your past as well, can be advantageous to you in dealing with those fears, or helping you, take care of some kind of responsibility. If you have, going back to the natal Saturn and Scorpio as an example, it can be something associated with taxes or insurance. Maybe it's a responsibility in simply making some major change or transformation. It could be a crisis situation. It might be something with a will, in some cases. So those are some ways that this transit may impact you when you have it. Now, another thing as well, another way this transit can be expressed, it could also be positive for going away from, which is the South Node, and it could be something that is limiting, which is Saturn. If the natal Saturn is in Aquarius, as an example, it could be difficulties integrating yourself with society, or maybe you feel there's some limitation connected with expressing altruism or selflessness, or even innovative qualities, understanding new technology, as some other examples. And this transit also can be auspicious to do something that you feel some natural ability or feel very proficient in this time, which is the South Node, and being able to concentrate, which is Saturn, on it. Let's say, for example, if the transit South Node is in Aries, it could be something associated with welding, arson investigation, speech pathology, combat sports, as some examples. And also to people that are prominent in your past, which is the South Node, can be more in harmony and agreement with your career. It could be work that you're involved in. And also, which is Saturn. Now, let's say, going back to the natal Saturn in Taurus as an example, that work can involve being a pawnbroker, working as a stockbroker or gardener, even carpet laying, some examples, banking, finance, working in geology. Also, too, this transit can be propitious to leave behind, which is the South Node, and focus on your responsibilities, which is Saturn. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now let's say, for example, if the natal Saturn is in Pisces, those responsibilities may be tied in with boating or fishing or doing something for the less fortunate, which can include the homeless, the hungry, the impoverished, the oppressed. And it's also a time, again, where if you can get away, from something that might be affecting you negatively, whether it's a negative home situation or domestic or some kind of marriage or a job, it could get you that time away where you can deal, if you're dealing with any kind of despondency or sadness. um, this could be that time to be able to do so, because remember, as I stated before, when the transit of the South Node is making a sextile or trine to the natal Saturn, the transit of the North Node is also making a sextile or trine to the natal Saturn. So it's easier to address and confront any issues that might be connected with some kind of sorrow or sadness. In some remote cases, it could actually be depression. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.